students, welcome back to PACE Academy. Till now we have read about the forebrain, what are the structures of the forebrain, what are the structures of your diencephalon and all. Now we will talk about the midbrain. So what is the midbrain also called as? It is called as mesencephalon. Why mesencephalon? Cephalon means brain. As it is present or it is the middle part of your brain, it is called mesencephalon. So where is the mesencephalon here? Midbrain, which is part of what? It is part of the central nervous system. Again, do revise it, note down this chart and revise it regularly so that you will never get confused. This nervous system is very confusing because there is everything that you should learn new. So always note it down and revise so that you convert, as I said in previous class, the short-term memory into long-term memory. So the central nervous system is having brain and the spinal cord. The brain, which is called encephalon because it is present inside a brain box. It is containing again of three parts, which is the forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. The forebrain is called prosencephalon. The midbrain is called mesencephalon and hindbrain is called rhombencephalon. What is this forebrain having or prosencephalon is having? Olfactory lobes, cerebrum and also diencephalon. We have read about the olfactory lobes where we were talking about how the smell is being taken up by the nose, how it is being sent to your brain and all, right? Then we have read about cerebrum, which is again divided into different parts like the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, temporal lobe and also the occipital lobe. Then we have read about the diencephalon, which is made up of thalamus, hypothalamus and again many commissures in between. Now we will talk about the midbrain or mesencephalon. So where is the midbrain located? The midbrain is located between the thalamus or hypothalamus and also the pons. So midbrain is the area present between pons varoli, which is the full name of the pons. So pons varoli and also the hypothalamus. The area present between your hypothalamus and also pons varoli is nothing but midbrain. And a pair of longitudinal bands of nervous tissue. A pair means what? Two in number. So two longitudinal nervous tissue of the ventral portion of the midbrain. So they are present on the ventral. So if I say this is the dorsal of the human being, this is called the ventral portion. So on the ventral portion of the midbrain, there is cerebral peduncles or crura cerebri. It is also called as, what is this crura cerebri or the cerebral peduncles? They are nothing but the longitudinal bands of nervous tissue or the long bands of the nervous tissue are called the crura cerebri or cerebral peduncles. And when you see here, when you observe here, crura cerebri connect the cerebral hemispheres with the pons. So whatever the cerebral hemispheres, you have two, that is left cerebral hemisphere and the right cerebral hemisphere. These both are connected to your pons with the help of crura cerebri. So here you can see, this is the area of the midbrain where the cerebral hemispheres are connecting to the pons or pons varoli. This entire structure you can see here how. This is the diencephalon, which is again the floor of the diencephalon is made up of hypothalamus, the sides with the thalamus and so on. So and even the roof is made up of the pineal gland and again the different structures, right? In the same way, this is pons varoli, which is nothing but in common terms called as pons. So whatever in middle between the cerebral hemisphere or the diencephalon or the forebrain, so the last part of the forebrain, which is diencephalon, and also the starting point of your hindbrain, which is pons, in between that whatever is there, that is called your midbrain. So this is the midbrain, that is the thalamus, which is part of the forebrain, pons, which is again the hindbrain. And after pons, the pons is again connected to another longitudinal structure called medulla oblongata. So gray matter inside and white matter outside. This is very important question answer to remember because always when you are talking about the cerebrum, So in the cerebrum, what is happening? The gray matter is present on the outside, whereas the white matter is present in the middle. Again, when you are talking about the spinal cord or the pons or midbrain, the gray matter is present inside and white matter is present outside. So gray matter inside, white matter outside. This midbrain is again divided into two parts, that is corpora quadrigemina and also kruka cerebri. So it is divided into two parts, that is corpora quadrigemina and kruka cerebri. So whatever this corpora quadrigemina, it is called the optic lobes because it is helping in visualizing the images. The images which are seeing or the objects which are seeing surrounding you are nothing but being visualized or analyzed in your optic lobes. Next, coming to kruka cerebri, which is cerebral peduncles. So these are present dorsally and these are present ventrally. So optic lobes are present dorsally. For us human beings, this is the dorsal surface and the front part is the ventral surface. So ventrally you have cerebral peduncles. Again, when you talk, corpora quadrigemina is also again divided into two parts, that is superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. So what is this? This entire corpora quadrigemina is nothing but related to your vision or visualization of the objects. So first one, superior colliculi is visual reflex, or when you see an object, and inferior colliculi is auditory, means the ability to hear is being mentioned here. Coming to kruka cerebri, the next part. So relay center for motor impulses. Why we are saying relay center for motor impulses? Motor impulses are being taken from your brain to your different body parts. So this message or impulse from your brain is going from the forebrain to the hindbrain with the help of this midbrain. So what is the position of your midbrain? It is nothing but below the diencephalon and it is above the pons, as I have shown just now, and it is the first part of brainstem. Brainstem is nothing but a long stem like structure or long branch like structure which is having different parts and it is helping in doing different activities of your body. Coming to the structure, it is very short, as you have seen in the picture before. It is present only between the forebrain and hindbrain. It is very short in structure and narrow. Stalk-like structure. Why we are saying stalk? Stalk means nothing but it is standing, right? It is standing and it is like a bunch of grains or bunch of straw. You know straw, right? The wheat, when you cut, it is having the grains and the straw. So a bunch of straw, if you take, it appears like that. Then white matter is outside. So till now in the forebrain, the white matter was in and the grey matter was out. This is going to change, or this is going to become opposite from the midbrain, and grey matter is inside. Now in specific, if you talk about corpora quadrigemina, it is pairs of rounded bodies. It is having superior and inferior parts again. Present dorsally, as all of you know, and it is having upper superior colliculi. So it is pair or ball like structure. Upper you have the superior colliculi, whereas lower you have the inferior colliculi. In this picture, when you see, as I said, dorsal for us is this, ventral is behind. So dorsal is this and ventral is this for us. So dorsally it is present means what? It should be present just below the occipital lobe. So if I say this is the occipital lobe, whatever these four spherical structures you can see, these four are nothing but colliculi. The two which are present above are superior colliculi and two which are present below are called inferior colliculi. And this is the vermis, this is nothing but cerebellum. So cerebellum is in close contact with your midbrain. What are the functions of your midbrain? The functions of your midbrain are nothing but it is relay center for all impulses. So whatever impulses are there or whatever innervations are there, that are being taken from your forebrain to your hindbrain with the help of your midbrain. Going away from brain. Why I am saying going away from brain? This is sending impulses which are motor in nature, means your brain is sending impulses to different parts of your body, like maybe opening or closing of your hands, or many other functions are being performed by your body. So it is taken up from your brain to the peripheries of your body. Next, it is having superior colliculi and also visual reflex with movement of your head. So whenever you are moving your head, it is able to capture every element, or it is also helping in the movement of your head, so that you can capture every element which is present in your eyesight. And inferior colliculi is what? It is doing auditory. So superior colliculi is always in association with the vision, and whereas inferior colliculi is in association with auditory reflex. Auditory means what? The ability to hear. So the ability or the auditory reflex with the movement of your head is present or is being functioned because of inferior colliculi. So these are the functions. Crura cerebri. So crura cerebri is nothing but the next part of your midbrain. So crura cerebri relays center for impulses going away from the brain. Why always I am saying going away from the brain? Because these all are nothing but motor impulses. So as they are motor impulses, they are going away from your brain, and this crura cerebri is acting as a bridge to pass a message to different parts of your body. Next, thick band of nerve fibers which connect cerebrum, cerebellum and the spinal cord. So there are, this crura cerebri is nothing but thick band of nerve fibers. It is thick and it is a combination or bundle of the nerve fibers which are connecting what? Cerebrum. So this is the cerebrum, then the cerebellum and also the spinal cord. So all these three are uniting in one place. It is very important question, they will ask you in your exam. What is the union of these three, that is cerebrum, cerebellum and the spinal cord? The union of these three structures is occurring because of the thick band-like structure called crura cerebri. Next, the superior colliculi controls movements of heads and is responsible for visual stimulus. As already said, the ability to see or the ability to visualize is present in the superior colliculi. And the inferior is always associated with auditory. So inferior colliculi control the movement of the head in response to auditory stimulus. Let's do some questions based on the midbrain, that is the brain stem is formed by. So brain stem, as you know, it is pons, medulla and also the midbrain. So midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. We have read about the forebrain, we have read about the midbrain. The next part that we are talking about is the hindbrain, which is also called as rhombencephalon. So always remember, in your examination they are not gonna directly ask you the whatever the heading is there, hindbrain, midbrain or so on. They are going to ask you if it is the rhombencephalon or if it is the procephalon and all. So rhombencephalon means hindbrain. Here when you see, the rhombencephalon is again having three structures in it, that is cerebellum, pons variosa or pons and medulla oblongata. These three structures, that is pons varoli, medulla oblongata and cerebellum, are forming what? They are forming the rhombencephalon or the hindbrain. Next. So what is the encephalon formed of? It is formed of forebrain, midbrain and also hindbrain. Now we are specifically talking about only the structures of your hindbrain. Hindbrain, which is rhombencephalon, is made up of cerebellum, which is also called as mesencephalon. So mesencephalon is nothing but the cerebellum, pons varoli and also medulla oblongata, which is called as myelencephalon. Cephalon itself means brain. So anything that is related to the brain will have the end, that is cephalon. In this hindbrain you can see the different structures here. If this is the midbrain, just below the midbrain you have the pons varoli. Then below the pons you have the medulla oblongata. Here is the sulcus or groove-like structures which is differentiating your pons and medulla oblongata. Then you have the cerebellum, which is present just behind your brainstem or the medulla oblongata and the pons, and it is in close association with the midbrain. Now we have took the section or we have cut down the brain only to show you the hindbrain. So this is the pons. Above this pons what we are having? The midbrain. Below the pons the medulla oblongata, and beside is the cerebellum. As you know, hindbrain is made up of cerebrum. The hindbrain is made up of cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. We are specifically talking about the cerebellum and different parts of it. When you see This is the cerebrum, means this is the forebrain. Here you have the midbrain, and below the midbrain you have the brainstem starting, that is nothing but pons, medulla oblongata and all. So just behind the midbrain, near to the pons and medulla oblongata, there is a structure called, which is cerebellum. This cerebellum is having transverse cerebral fissures, and also it is present below the transverse cerebral fissures. It is also called the little brain. So the cerebrum is the largest part. This is the cerebrum, which is the largest part. Below it there is again a isolated tissue, or the tissue which is separated from the cerebrum, called cerebellum, which is also called the little brain. In your examination they will ask you what is the little brain and its functions, or they will say the functions of your little brain are. Don't get confused, it is nothing but functions of cerebellum. The second largest part of the brain. So all other parts, maybe pons, medulla, or the brain, the midbrain, all are small compared to the cerebellum. And it consists of two cerebellar hemispheres. Same as in the cerebrum, this is also divided into two equal halves, which is also called as cerebellar hemispheres and also central vermis. In between there is a division which is dividing the cerebellum into two parts, that is nothing but vermis. So this is the cerebellum. As you can see, it is present here. It is present near to your neck. And whatever each cerebellar hemisphere, or each half of the cerebellum, consists of three lobes. So the cerebellum is again divided into two parts, as you all know, right and left. Each of this lobe is again made up of anterior lobe, posterior lobe and foccular lobe. Always remember, it is made up of anterior lobe. This is containing the anterior lobe, which is present towards your face. Then you have the posterior lobe, which is present towards your back, and the follicular lobe. Behind, and it is present behind what? The cerebellum is present behind the fourth ventricle. As you know, 1 and 2 ventricles are present in your cerebrum on both the sides. So first and second ventricles are present in your cerebrum on both the sides, and now we have the fourth ventricle. Ventricles are nothing but the spaces which are containing the cerebrospinal fluid, and they are helping in lightening the brain weight, or it is also helping in the taking up of different nutrients or the waste materials in and out of your brain. So whatever the cerebellum is there, that is below the occipital lobe. So the occipital part of your cerebrum, or the occipital lobe of your cerebrum, below it what you are having the cerebellum, and ventral to the medulla oblongata. Why ventral? Always I said, this is the dorsal part of a human being and this is the ventral part. So it is present ventral to the medulla oblongata. So you can see here, this is present ventral, which is the cerebellum. And it is the second largest part of your brain, and what I said, the brain is 1100 or 1200 to 1400 grams in weight. So it is 11% by weight, and it is made up of two lateral cerebellar hemispheres. So this cerebellum, whichever is there, it is divided into two parts or two halves, which is called as cerebellar hemispheres, and in middle it is having the median vermis. So the connection or the contact between the two cerebellar hemispheres is called nothing but median vermis, and folds called as folia. So whatever folds are there, or whatever elevations and depressions are there, they are called folia, and also arbor vitae. Here you can see arbor vitae means what? See, whatever these elevations and depressions are there, you can see here there are elevations and depressions present inside the cerebellum. So whatever these elevations are there are called folia, and this arbor vitae is nothing but tree of life. So whatever the branches, it is looking like a tree, right? So you can see it is looking like a tree with different branches. So whatever the branches and trees are there, so the branching tree like core of cerebellum, or branching tree like structure of your cerebellum, inner white matter, always remember this is having inner white matter, which is called arbor vitae. So in the midbrain the white matter is out, but when you come to cerebellum the white matter is inside and grey matter is outside. The tree of life is also called as arbor vitae. In your examination they will ask what is the tree of life, or they ask what is arbor vitae. It is nothing but the white matter which is appearing like the branches of your tree is called arbor vitae. And the arbor vitae is surrounded by cerebellar cortex, which is grey in color. So whatever this white matter is there is covered on outer surface by the grey matter, which is also called as the cerebellar cortex. So outer surface is called cortex, inner surface is called medulla. This is the, you can see this is the brainstem and this is the cerebellum. You can see here, this is the entire cerebrum. These two halves on both the sides are called cerebellum.